This session, we wrap up Chapter 14 and Edna's career as a ski instructor. When pupils progressed, they would often show their delight by writing embellished accounts of what excellent skiers they'd become. Their letters to the ski school would praise their instructor as being the very best. Since all of us received this kind of elaborate praise, we realized it didn't really matter who they had for an instructor. We all taught and had to teach pretty much alike. It was fun when the pupils' appreciation went as far as bringing presents. One grateful fellow brought me armfuls of aluminum foil, freezer wrap, pie tins, wastebaskets, and other items. These gifts were most needed at ski tip. He was a salesman for an aluminum company, of course. Sometimes in those early years, being the only woman ski instructor in the school could be amusingly embarrassing. One late afternoon, when the supervisors were critiquing our performance of the day, one of them said, "It's okay to give attention to a pretty female, but don't give her all of your attention, excluding the others in the class. Be nice to her, but you don't have to sleep with her." Seeing me over in the corner, he added, "Sorry, Edna, I didn't mean you." I laughed. "That's all right, just as long as you include Max." In May of 1961, Max and I thought we'd like to take a vacation and at the same time attend the annual meeting of the Technical Coordinating Committee of the National Ski Association. It was to be held at Big Mountain Ski Area in Montana. I looked forward to being a late riser and maybe go skiing if I felt like it. In other words, I could be the type of guest that we didn't tolerate at ski tip very often. The first morning, Max woke me up at 5 a.m. "We have to be on top of the mountain early this morning." Why on earth so early, I wondered aloud. After breakfast, we headed up the mountain. Congregated at the top were many of the most famous ski instructors and directors of ski schools I'd ever heard of. They were from all over the U.S. Sun Valley was represented by Siggy Engel. From New Hampshire came Herbert Schneider, son of the famous Hans Schneider, who was the father of the Arlberg technique. Kurt Chase of Red Mountain Lodge, later director of Aspen Ski School, and Doug Pfeiffer of California, a writer for skiing and ski magazines. There was a sense of excitement in the air. They didn't seem to be interested in skiing down the mountain. Instead, they stood around in groups discussing ski techniques. Once in a while, someone would demonstrate the point he was trying to make. Wanting a vacation away from the ski school, I skied off by myself. The trees were still covered by heavy snow, making them look like funny gnomes. And the view off to the south, toward the blue waters of the immense Flathead Lake, was magnificent. To the east, I could see the peaks of Glacier National Park. Thinking I'd retire early that evening, after all, we'd gotten up at 5 a.m., I was grateful when Max told me, "You go ahead, get a good night's sleep. I'll come in later, maybe quite late because I have a meeting." He was up at 5 a.m. again the next morning, but thoughtfully this morning he didn't awaken me. Attending the afternoon meeting of the ski instructors, I realized that something significant was occurring. Out of this 5-day meeting, an organization called the Professional Ski Instructors of America, Inc. would become official. The American ski technique agreed upon there would become in a few years the accepted teaching method in the majority of the ski schools in the United States. It has evolved today into the ATM, the American Teaching Method. The Arlberg technique was what I first taught. I had heard of but not seen the French technique. In the fall of 1957, Willy Schaeffler introduced the Austrian technique to the ski school. Max had assisted the year before in translating from the official Austrian ski technique book. At that time, by Willy's suggestion, Max had begun teaching this to a few selected pupils. There were mixed emotions in the ski school among a few of the instructors, but with the arrival of Eric Windisch to help clinic all of us in this new way of skiing and teaching, everyone accepted it. There was at first controversy throughout the ski teaching world. The word "vadel" became familiar to skiers. I remember reading somewhere the comment of a quick-witted Fred Island, who was co-director with Friedel Pfeiffer of the Aspen Ski School. "We teach Friedland and Fredlin over here." Others would ask, how does it feel to stand crooked on the hill? The body was angulated with upper body facing downhill, and since this was different from the Arlberg stance in a traverse, it was often derided. A few instructors at some of the other schools wanted to teach this new technique. They told us later we had to teach behind bushes, so to speak. This variety of techniques really confused ski pupils. They might take a lesson in Arapahoe and then go to Aspen, where a modified Arlberg technique was taught, and then to Stein Eriksen's Norwegian ski school over at the Highlands, and then lessons at Sun Valley with a French ski instructor. Something had to be done. The formation of a universal skiing technique was necessary, at least in the U.S. It was fun listening to all the arguments, the pros and cons at Big Mountain. I was so proud of Max when, at the end of it all, the nucleus of the PSIA, or the Professional Ski Instructors of America, was formed. He was one of the 7 founders. For years, I was madly rushing ski tip guests through the breakfast I'd cooked for them so that I could be up at Arapahoe in time for the first class of the morning. Meanwhile, Max was giving free ski lessons at the breakfast table with our huskies, Kiska and Taku, peering through the window. Standing in front of my class, I was very much out of breath from all the rush, limp from the heat of the kitchen stove, and wondering if I smelled of fried bacon. When we acquired more help, plus a breakfast cook, it became less hectic to reach the area and my class. But as I grew older, it became harder for me to lift up the overweight beginners who couldn't get up after falling down. I began to question the benefit of it at all. My decision to give up teaching came to me clearly one afternoon after I had been handling beginners all day at the bottom of the practice slope at Arapahoe Basin. The cheery voice of a friend carried through the air to me as she skied by. "Oh, Edna, you should see the Polly. The snow is fantastic and the skiing is sublime." It was a beautiful Christmas holiday, 18 years after I'd started teaching at Arapahoe. I quit that day.